welcome back to Contemporary Black Voices, where today we have Victoria Dixon, who is an educator, and we're talking about teaching our own while in public school. So I know that my seat partner, Caleb Alexander, had a question that he wanted to ask. And it was a burning question.
Well, I did have a question, but I'm going to forego that question. I just want to talk about like some additional resources that are out there that like, for instance, what is it, like rap math or what is like rap science or stuff like that. Have you found like, have you utilized some of those, or have you found that those are more helpful to kids like within our demographic?
Yes, I will tell you, I am a big proponent of music in the classroom. Actually, one of my cousins, he makes rap songs, and he put multiplication timetables to some of his beats and whatnot. And so I would use things like that in the classroom. I incorporated a lot of rap. One resource, unfortunately, it costs a lot of money for teachers, is Flowcabulary. They do a lot of really fun, engaging music, kind of hip hop, pop styles of songs, but it all ties into different content areas. So math, science, ELA concepts. Another thing is Number Rock. So Number Rock, they make songs. A lot of their songs have like some hip hop beats to them, but again, we get into that pop realm as well. So I think it is so important to find ways to engage your demographic, your students, you know, and especially when we're thinking about our students, you know, and for the little kids, there's like, a plethora of resources that you can start the learning process with. Gracie's Corner, like all of their songs have like a hip hop kind of beat to them. And so we play a lot of that for my son, who is now 4. He loves counting, and they have a counting from 1 to 50 and then a counting from 1 to 100. So those are all great resources that you can use. On top of that, and there's, again, different people are putting videos out there that you can use. But yeah, I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll stop too.
Okay. Now, off camera, Fred always has some great questions. And I said, wait a minute, you're going to ask that question on camera. So go ahead, Mr. Williams.
Okay, yeah. I've been listening to you talk, and it seems to me you're talking to a certain economic level of people, okay?
Yeah.
Whose those kids are fortunate to have a parent who cares about their education.
Yeah.
So that's who you've been addressing for the last 14, 15 years. And you said you want to be able to address all your students. What about that student who goes home, his mother's not there, she might be out, she might be out partying half the night, he has to try to sleep, she doesn't give a damn about education or anything else. She never goes to a PTA meeting, probably don't even know when they have them. And we know they're out there. How, as a teacher, can you also include that student in your teaching?
That is a fabulous question. And I'm going to tell you, I started teaching in DC at a school where that was the majority of my students, you know.
We're from, my wife and I, we're from DC, so we know. Yeah, what side? Anacostia?
Oh, sir, I was in Northeast. I was
Northeast.
off of Benning Road.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Not too far from Spingarn High School. So, you know, I definitely had that demographic. And so for me, I did not, like, I hoped homework would get done. I understood homework didn't always happen. You know, I had some students that, you know, they were homeless. And so there were a lot of situations that happened. So what was so valuable for me is the moment they step in my classroom, I wanted to make learning engaging, relevant, fun. I wanted them to be a part of it. And you know what? I had to have grace some days, because some days someone doesn't want to do what I want them to do, or, you know, they're just not feeling it. They're sleepy. I had to be responsive to them, understanding of them, and still find ways to make it engaging. And so what I found is there were some students, and like, look, socioeconomics does not take away a person's intelligence.
That's right.
We know that. And so I had one student, she, did not do homework very often, but she was literally the brightest child in our grade level. She became a helper often for me. I made sure she had the food that she needed, and she can teach kids in her way how to do things. Now, I'm not saying I wasn't doing my job of teaching, but I would allow her, because she likes some attention too, I would allow her to explain to her classmates. There would be times she's going to do this program easily. It's not going to take her a long time. Then I would ask her to go over here with this child. And can you sit with this child and help them understand the program? Do not tell them the answers, but tell them what they need to be paying attention to, point out things to them. And so I incorporated everybody. And I'll tell you one thing that I loved the most. When I was in DC, if my students finished this program that we were working on, so it's ST Math, if they got to 100% by the time of our state testing, I told them, I will take you to H&M Pizza, which is like really cool pizza spot. You get your own personal pizza. I was like, we're going to walk down there. I am going to pay for your pizza and you get a drink. This is on me if you accomplish this. I had like 11 kids that reached that goal. And we did that. And so that was motivation for them. You know what I mean? And thankfully the music teacher, he pitched in, gave us money so that they can all get desserts. And yeah, it was a beautiful experience.
Okay, thanks. So, Chris.
Finally. Finally. Okay. No, what I wanted to ask is more about community and about parenting. When we look at our own neighborhood, we seem to give a lot of responsibility to the teacher, and we put the kids off on the school and expect them to work miracles and do everything for us. We are getting to a point to where education is going to have to be, as a community, our job. Okay, because they're taking away from us in public schools and different things like that. So my question is, with the church, with the community, and with the resources that we have, what should we be doing to take care of our own kids as opposed to waiting on the public schools that seem to be diminishing, seems to be lessening the type of education that they're giving to our kids, and we need to take responsibility for that. Can you address that?
No, I think that's a fabulous question. One thing that I think is really important is early involvement, early childhood education. So what does that look like? Do we have books at the house? What can the church do? The church can have some books that they're helping provide to the community. I know our church has done some, what do they call them? They're not calling them book fairs. But anyway, the kids can go after church on like a second Sunday and they can go pick up some books, right? And then they get to take those home. That's something that's important. Another thing I think about is we have a lot of children's churches at different churches, okay? And so one thing I love when I teach children's church is I actually find ways, we're going to talk about Jesus, right? We have our entire lesson that's going to be centered around that. But then I find supplemental activities that I can do. So I want my 3 through 5-year-olds, I want all of you guys to count consistently from 1 to 10. I don't want us to miss numbers, right? So those are things we can do. Now, does it help that I'm an educator when I go in there? Yes. So then can we, as churches, can we create little training sessions where I'm training someone who's not an educator on how to incorporate some math skills into your children's church lesson or your Bible study lesson, because it's there. Even trying to find the scripture reference that we're going to be in. You really need to understand numbers and what's happening. So I would say that's one thing we can start with. And then I think we have to get to the point where we actually care and connect with people at the church. What do I mean by that? I have a 4-year-old son. Let me look around the church. Who else has a child in my child's, age range? Can we set up play dates? Can we set up activities where we're getting our kids together?
Real quick,
Yes.
is church the answer to where we go? Is that still for the Black community the place that we should be going? Because there seems to be, to me, there needs to be something, someone, somehow that we're doing outside of the public schools. Is that the church?
Church is an avenue, and you know, I know whenever I think about buildings, I think about it costs money. But you know, because when I look at Sylvan Learning Centers and some of those other places, those are, you know, I don't know if we own those. You know what I'm saying? Like having things set up like that would be amazing. But we can set up groups to meet at a library. A lot of libraries have meeting rooms where you can go, and we can just be intentional about planning these kinds of events. But I think it's going to take people coming together and all recognizing that this is a big problem. And it's not just my problem or her problem
Correct.
or his problem
Correct.
or over on that side of town's problem.
Correct.
You know, it's all of our problem because, and this is the last thing I'm going to say before I talk about these books real quick. But I wanted to say that when I've been in the school setting, especially since I've come back after having my son, I was substituting at a school. And what I noticed is a lot of the behavior issues I observed were the smartest kids in the class. And they're bored because we're not doing something to pace at their level. So, you know, I think there's a lot that we should do. It's everybody's problem. And early literacy is key.
Thank you.
I wanted to share a couple of books that I absolutely love. And one thing for my child, I always want him to see, and other children, I want them to see themselves. We're not just going to read about other people. I want you to read something and imagine yourself there. This book, All Because You Matter, is just a beautiful poem. The illustrations are amazing. They were illustrated by Brian Collier. Tammy Charles is the author. This book speaks life into children. All Because You Matter. Okay? This book, it talks about, this is called The Undefeated. It was illustrated by Kadir Nelson, and the poet is Kwame Alexander. This book right here talks about how we come from greatness. And just everything, like you think of undefeated, like being not, that prefix being not, everything starts with a prefix that is pretty negative, but it's completely positive. You know what I'm saying? Undefeated means no one has defeated you.
Right.
That's powerful, you know? And so it's just, I'm not even gonna read, but it's amazing.
What ages is that for?
I would read this to, I read it to my 4-year-old. Who's gonna get it?
Okay.
8 and up.
Okay.
You know what I mean? The 7-year-old may understand it too. But what is important is sometimes our little kids, they don't understand everything, but they understand the feeling that it gives them when they're hearing it, you know, and so you just want to continue to speak life and empowerment to children because sometimes they go into the education system and they don't hear that. But when they're at home, when they're with the community, when they're with family, they need to hear that life and that power. And then this one, my mom actually sent this one to me, and I was so excited. And it's all about timelines from Black history. You guys, this one has so much content knowledge, and this was recently put out, but they make these amazing timelines for just so many concepts, you know, and it does talk about slavery. It talks about Harlem Renaissance and like so many amazing skills, but this is not it. There's a book LeBron James put out called I Promise, you know, and it is a compact that the child is making about their education and what they're going to do. Those are the kind of things that I would really encourage us to have. And there's a plethora of books I can supply Dr. Chadwell, like with a resource for it, but yeah.
Thank you.
All righty. This has been really some amazing information, and we're going to go ahead and stop now, and then we're going to come back with hot topics.
Thank you.